is going to be on the sidelines. All right, so it's like, how do you take that time? Like, how do you use that wisely? And I think for the Falcons, we've really adjusted well, you know? And that's one of the things that we've really struggled to say about our team in the past. It's like, we actually kept the lead at halftime. Like, I'm excited about that. All right, here we go. I got another question. So, for Blizz 818, you also get to choose not just for trade chase for Carson, but also what drink, if you want to take another look at it. I don't know if you've just tuned in, but I got 3 options. I got one that I haven't tried now. I have one that I just opened up and I already have a cup full, and I have one that I have a larger bottle of, and that's Long Island iced tea. So I want to know that too. All right. So I'm leaving that up to whoever wants to ask a question. As a matter of fact, I'm going to open this up too, just to let everyone know that that seal is broken. I am legit. I'm going to pour this in while it's still on camera. This is hard to do because I'm so elevated. I'm going to stand up a little bit. There we go. That's how confident I am in my ability to get some questions. I'm going to do with that one. And I'm going to open up the brandy. There we go. Heard that seal. Get that poured in. This should be interesting. I have all these drinks that are opened up. And these drinks are kind of like toothpaste. Once you get it out of the tube, you really can't put it back in. All right. But as far as, and if I'm not given an answer in a certain amount of time, I'm just going to try one that I want. Yes, I am. All right. Hey, I want to add some entertainment value to these streams. All right. I don't really have to worry about, like kind of keep anyone up tonight at least. And all right, anything works. All right, I'm gonna start on this brandy. This is the apple brandy. Got an ice cube. Ooh. All right. All right. Do I have anyone that's younger than 21 so far on the group? What I have so far. Hey, Twisted Torch, dropped the video. I wish I could see it, but I'm kind of busy with something. I'm gonna see it after my stream as well, so don't you worry. All right. As for us on our side of the fall, I think our offense is still good when it revolves around Cordero Patterson. I think that the Washington linebackers, part of me feels like they're not going to be capable of stopping Pitts. I know that they practice against guys like Logan Thomas. They practice against Ricky Seals-Jones. That's not Kyle Pitts, though. All right. And even if they can, we've shown it in the previous game against New York that we can use that as a decoy to our advantage. Like in our goal line attempts, like we put Kyle Pitts out wide to the left. We had Mike Davis in the backfield. Everything else is like screaming, oh, hey, it's either a fade or it's just a run play. But then, no, it was a play action, just dump off to Lee Smith. One of the easiest touchdowns we can have in the season. Another one was Olamide Zaccheaus. He really stepped up big, and I made sure that he gets noticed in my article that I made yesterday. For those of y'all that have not checked it out, it didn't really get the same amount of love as last week's one, which maybe that had to do with a little advertising. I mean, people were clicking on it on Facebook, so some of y'all should know about me by now. As far as our defense going up against Washington's offense, I do trust it, even for fantasy purposes. Taylor Heineke has looked stoppable. All right, and that's all we need. All right, Daniel Jones, he looked stoppable, and we did. Jalen Hurts didn't look stoppable. Tom Brady, well, yeah. You kind of get what you get with him. But just in terms of experience alone, I think that we can give them some unique looks that they haven't seen before on offense. You know, the Bills did exactly that. Hey, if I'm taking notes on what Washington would do against us, like we have a better athletic linebacking group than Buffalo. I know they got Jermaine Edmonds, and I know that Matt Milano is a beast in the run game, but our linebackers are averaging like 10 tackles a game. All right, I can't say the same for them. And I know that our secondary doesn't have like a Tre'Davious White right now. AJ Terrell is questionable. I'd more say so doubtful. And you know what? I just realized I never even answered your question. I'm sorry. I went back to it. All right, trade Jamar Chase for Chris Carson. No. With Chris Carson, it's very undecided about how many targets he's going to get on a given day, right? And he's going up against San Francisco. And I know that seems appealing, but what seems even more appealing right now, how's it going, Raymond? What seems even more appealing right now is Jamar Chase going up against Jacksonville's defense. So that's an opportunity that I really don't want to miss out on. All right. We got one from James Zoo. Start Godwin or CD this week? All right. Well, I got a question. So you know what that means? I'm going to alternate drinks this time. I'm not even going to ask anymore because some of y'all are tuning in at random times, and I don't want to like stop and have to interrupt myself with every different thing. If in case you didn't know, this is a glass of Long Island iced tea. If you are new to drinking, I suggest you stay away from this for a little bit because it is easy to get addicted to this stuff. Let me tell you. All right, so Godwin or CeeDee Lamb. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they have their matchup against the Patriots. That's a fun one. And CeeDee Lamb was going up against Carolina. Carolina is without J.C. Horn, like I mentioned. And Dak Prescott, he really likes to distribute the ball around now. So if I have to decide between one of the two, I'm going to go with Godwin just for the sake that I know that he's going to get more targets than CeeDee Lamb. He's got a higher floor, so to speak. All right, and then for your next question, that's going to go back to my cup of whiskey. All of the ice is gone. I tried to get the ice like last minute before I even started the stream. So the fact that it's already gone 30 minutes in, I was kind of expecting that. I was going to try to like, maybe I need to go to the store next time and get some like ice that doesn't melt. I don't really know what to call it. I know that there's a name for it, but anyways. All right, so start Pitts or Tyler Higbee. Tyler Higbee is going up against the Cardinals. Whew. That's going to be a fun one. And I'm going to talk about that at length a little bit later. Hopefully I can. With Pitts, though, he's going to have an extra week in the offense. All right, and that I like to see. With Higbee, it really ebbs and flows as to who gets the ball in LA, too. Freeze-Co ice cubes. Thank you for that, because that's what I was going to try to get something for next time. That way, that doesn't melt and really dilutes the drink. Um, but to go back to your question, I do like Pitts' upside a little bit more than Higbee's. So I'd agree with that. Raymond Elder. He says, will Dalvin Cook be back? Because I still have Madison on the bench and I want to start him. Well, time for the brandy. Meanwhile, in this drink, I'm just eating all the ice accidentally. All right. Dalvin Cook, that's a good question. Because I wanted to make sure. Because Alexander Madison is someone that I wanted to pick up in my best ball league, so I did. And let's get the Vikings' take on who they have on their depth chart as of right now. I'm doing this live. Vikings depth chart 2021. All right, I don't want their week 1. I just want their week 4. Okay, now I'm starting to get the flood of questions. This will be interesting. Ooh. All right. Looks like this website hasn't been updated yet. Thanks a lot, Vikings official page. Trying to go for updated depth chart. ESPN, you should be on your game. And at least in terms of statistics, they have Dalvin Cook listed as questionable. Say what you want to say about ESPN, but sometimes their statistics are in fact true. But that being said, I want to know who else you have in your running back group, because Madison's someone that I really like too. But I also have a situation with the Lions running back Jamal Williams. It's like, I know that he can have a good game in him. I just can't trust when. So I kind of share your sympathy with that. Emmanuel says, I'm a Falcons fan. Drinking is in my blood. Yeah, well, I'm like a week away from having a full year of being 21 off my list. Mr. George, you good? No, I know you will watch after. Yep. All right. And he also came back, says, I have Kyler Murray against the Rams defense and Herbert against the Raiders defense, but I trust Murray more than Herbert. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know if I can consider this a question. More so than just like a discussion piece. I don't know if I should drink to this. This is my main concern. I would have said yes to that. I would have said yes if this was a question, if you just randomly threw in a question mark in your comment. But for whoever else is watching, I'm not sure if I'm going to give y'all that luxury, because some of y'all may be out to kill me. All right, so with Kyler Murray versus Justin Herbert, the Raiders defense has shown to be a little bit more stout than LA's. Now, I know that with LA's defense last week, it's really hard to tell because of the volume that Brady had to throw, because he had 400-something yards, but they were the emptiest 400 yards I've ever seen in a game. So take that for what it's worth, which is about, well, let's say a loss. All right. I kind of trust. Yeah, I will agree with you. I do trust Murray a little bit more than Herbert. Just for the fact that he's got weapons to throw to. I know that DeAndre Hopkins didn't have that great of a game, but AJ Green definitely did. Christian Kirk is proving himself to be a consistent option for anyone that picked him up in fantasy for the waiver wire. Rondell Moore, he's still a bit of a stretch. I know last week they said, hey, just start every single Cardinal, and apparently that just meant James Conner. But I will say this, for the two NFC West matchups, I can pretty much guarantee that all 4 teams are at least going to score 30 points. That's a hill I'm going to die on for this week. And if I'm wrong, just remember what I'm drinking tonight. It says, I played Danny Dimes against Atlanta because I figured it's the Atlanta defense and almost lost that week. Should I get my Falcons card pulled? Hey, well, you got to think about it too, because fantasy is always going to be separate from reality. So you may have you may have wanted the Falcons to win, but you may have also thought that it was going to be more of a high-scoring battle. That wasn't the case, and I'm actually really glad about that, because now that proves that we can stop a dare I say bad team. And I'm only going to call them bad right now because, well, since 2017 they've had the same record as the Jets. If we didn't beat them, that's not putting ourselves in good company like anymore. All right. So we're at least clawing our way back up to relevancy, let's just say. And at some point in a couple weeks from now, we're going to be more of a force to be reckoned with. So I say you're good for now, but I think you've learned your lesson this time around. Hey, don't bet against Dean Pease against a young quarterback, because Dean Pease has way more experience than that guy has ever been alive. Okay. But to your question, I'm going to keep my composure. There's that drink of lit. All right, Swift and Fant for Waller. This whiskey is just straight up room temperature at this point. All right. I don't know if you can pull that off, depending on who has them. I mean, any time that you have to get rid of two players to add one stronger player, that's always a bit of a risk, even if it's a guy like Darren Waller. Just because it's not just going to be a straight up like even trade. Otherwise, this wouldn't be a question. The fact that you're trying to put DeAndre Swift in with Noah Fant and trying to get Darren Waller out of that, depending on who's got him, like if he doesn't take fantasy seriously, which some people don't, they just kind of have to be in the league just because they need bodies. I don't think that's going to happen. If you could get that to happen, that's fantastic. And then you can just kind of pick up another running back. May I suggest hit Alexander Madison? Because even if Dalvin Cook is back fully healthy, I do want to see a rotation. I do want to see the Vikings try to use the hot hand just to get an advantage. Because it's Cleveland they're going up against. They need all the help they can get. So the Falcons leave a lot of people alcoholic. I'm not even an alcoholic. I'm not even an alcoholic. Crazy as that sounds. You may take that as a straight up lie, but I'm more of an experimental drinker right now. Like I said, I have had 51 weeks complete of being 21, and at the times where I could get something just to try, which is why I didn't have that big of a bottle. This was like $8. It might taste like $8, but no, it's not that bad. But no, I just want to do it just because I was curious about how it tasted. It wasn't just because oh man, I'm suffering in all this agony and pain and depression, and that the drinks will suffice. But no, I was just turned 21 and wanted to know what it tasted like. All right, Leo. Goodness gracious. Okay, so Nathan, if you're just tuning in, if you're still confused about, I mean, we're 4 weeks into this at this point. I'm doing the NFL Week 4 preview / fantasy Q&A, and I'm also drinking on top of this for every question that I get regarding fantasy. I'm going to consider this as one question because this ain't fair. I hope you're happy, Leo, about my decision making here, because I do want to be alive for next week. Thank you very much. All right, so can you help me on who to start? Kyler Murray, CMC. Well, That's out the table. Antonio Gibson, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, TJ Hawkinson, DK Metcalf, Justin Jefferson, Tyler Lockett, Aaron Jones, Edwards-Helaire, Godwin, Allen Robinson, Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs is not playing. This is why a lot of people are picking up their other backup running back. I kind of already forgot his name. I think the drinks are starting to get to me. Speaking of which, now that this is a question, I think I had the whiskey last, so this is the brandy. All the ice is gone on this one as well. All right. All right, my question to you, can you break this up a little bit? Because this is a little bit hard to read. So if you're still here, I'm going to wait for that. Because I don't even know who you have in your lineup, because you just listed just a bunch of people. All right, Thomaston says, will Pitts have a Kelsey game? I want that to be the case. I can't guarantee it. I can't guarantee anything that I say. But I do believe it's possible, especially this time around, now that we are starting to see a little bit more crucial snaps thrown to Kyle Pitts on key situations, on some third downs, on some late game heroics. I do think that means for something. I think that Arthur Smith is starting to trust him a little bit more and more in the offense. So as we get further down the line, yeah, you're going to expect Kyle Pitts to have some Kelsey-like games, even some Darren Waller-like games, all right? Because I think he's more comparable to him. But, you know, I've said this before, like, just because he's going to get compared to him, that also means that he's going to get covered like him in the defense too. And Washington, I don't know if you heard, but the front four is pretty strong. I know that our offensive line have actually been pretty up to the task so far. Jalen Mayfield has constantly been improving. He's showing that week one was just a fluke. You would cut him off at a bad day. Matt Hennessy, it's about a coin flip at this point whether he holds his own on certain plays. I just know that he's more reliable in the run game right now. Caleb McGarry, I have mentioned my complaints about him in the past, especially in my article that I made yesterday, which if you check it out on AtlantaFalconsNation.com, it's probably going to be like the first article that you see right now. It's going to be saying it's beautiful to see an ugly win. So if you haven't checked that out, that's my plug. It's the only thing I care about plugging right now, because I just want feedback on what I've been writing so far. That's my question to you right now. All right. Andrew says, yo, 12-man, PPR, running backs Eckler, Swift, CEH, Damian Harris, Trey Sermon, Connor. Wide receivers are Adams, Woods, Anderson, Myers, Beasley, Michael Thomas, tight end Hawk. Should I trade Swift for Hill straight up? Risky. I'm thinking at this point I probably should have had like equal size cups. So in regards to diminishing your running back room for your wide receiver room, Devontae Adams, yeah, you're going to be fine with him because he's up against the Steelers. Robert Woods, I think that Matthew Stafford has a little bit of the Russell Wilson syndrome where, yeah, they can both cook, but the problem is they only make one dinner plate, you know? And the thing about having all these wide receivers is that they're all wide receivers. They're all divas. They're all selfish. They want the ball because they want to get paid for getting the ball to their team. As far as Robbie Anderson is really sluggish, and I don't know why. Like, he should be a much more viable option in that Carolina offense, especially now that Christian McCaffrey's not there. But I've seen this to be the case where if it's man coverage, Sam Darnold's not afraid to run. You know, and he might have to a little bit more because his offensive line has still struggled. Like, his offensive line struggled against the Texans. All right? Like, when you have Greenard and Ross Blacklock that is trying to chase after you, not to say that they're bad players, they're just not household names. They're just not names that you want to like get beaten by, especially like early on in the season. Jacoby Myers, I've heard some question marks about him too. Cole Beasley, you're fine with. Michael Thomas, he still isn't really gonna play. Hill does get you the targets, but the fact that you might give up DeAndre Swift for that, I don't think that's going to be a possible trade for you, honestly. Like, flip the roles around. If you have Tyreek Hill, would you ever consider getting DeAndre Swift instead? Yeah. All right. Chad, what you got for me this time? I am already forgetting what drinks I've been on. Can I have one person in the chat that's like consistently like able to tell me like what I've drank since so far? Thank you in advance. All right, so will Pitts show up or will they try to use Franks as the tight end again? I understand that option now that I think about it because his brother, I think, is a tight end for the Browns, maybe, or at least he was back in the preseason when we faced him. So it's like he's got a big body, and he knows about the position thanks to his family. So it's not for nothing that he was there in that position. I just wanted to see like what was the reason for that outside of like, hey, he can do this, because it didn't get you anything at the end of the day. You know that he wasn't going to be much of a receiving threat. It was the first drive of the game, and that was never brought up after that. So I don't know what the deal was with that play. And then you put him back on the field on 3rd and 1 on the first drive of the game, like I said, on the scripted plays, like the plays that you were ready to just whip out, and you didn't even do that. Like you didn't even pick up the first down. And I said about this in my article, right? If you're gonna be risky like that, do it on a 2nd and 1. Don't do it on the 3rd down, and where if you don't pick it up, then you don't even want to try to go for it on the 4th down. Like I didn't really understand that decision. Thankfully, it didn't cost us the game, but that's how we start off that's how we start off games so sluggish. Is because we start to act cute for no reason against an opponent that we really shouldn't be acting cute for. Falcons can easily win the oh my goodness, I'm already starting to not being able to talk. Falcons can easily win the next couple of games. I don't want to say the word easy. But yeah. I do think they have it in them. Falcons crappy offensive line. Yeah, Orsky sucks. It depends on the palette, I guess. Like sports in terms of like, there's a couple of things that shouldn't be subjective but are, but then there's a lot more things that are subjective but people treat as if they shouldn't. I don't know if that made sense, but scratch that, flip it, reverse it, twist it, bop it, whatever you want to call it. It says, I have CeeDee Lamb starting, but I have Cooks and Deebo Samuel on the bench. Well, I guess it paid out for you that you had Deebo Samuel on your bench, considering Jimmy Garoppolo didn't really look his way. I'm thinking of going with Deebo because of Kyle Shanahan calling the play. Well, I should have finished that. I should have finished the comment then. He got targeted like 5 times against Green Bay, or at least like 6 of them, and caught 5 passes, but they didn't really amount to a whole lot. So I'm kind of iffy on that. Maybe it was just the Packers. You know, maybe it's due to their improving secondary, because it's not just Jair Alexander anymore. It's Eric Stokes. It's really proven himself to be a true number 2 corner early on in his career, which I'm like, hey, maybe that's the reason why you get chosen over Tyson Campbell. Lamont's is the best. There you go. It does the job. I used to sneak them into the club and buy $1 Coke. Did I miss something? I don't know. I don't really know what you're going on about, sir. Gotta start Tampa Bay players while AB is out. Well, again, it's all about the matchups. And that matchup against New England is going to be one where everyone in the world is going to have their eyes on. All right, I don't care if you're in Ireland or Germany or Ecuador, whatever you want to call it. And I'm mentioning those countries because I have somewhat of a, I'm not going to say a fan base, but I know I have people that pay attention to my articles there. So, again, there's my shout outs to you. I hope this gets out to you eventually at some point. Maybe I need to start making these live streams available in my articles afterwards. Oh man, it's gonna be a very interesting game because this is like 4D chess on top of 4D chess. Just in terms of like the schemes, like Bill Belichick is going to start whipping out everything that he's ever hidden from Tom Brady in those like 20 some odd years that they've been together. And I'm pretty sure that Tom Brady is going to have his own tricks up his sleeve on his own. All right, and it better not being some some sneaky tactics if you catch my drift. All right, are we going to talk about Matt Ryan almost throwing the 3 picks last week? Who was he throwing to? Well, like I said, that's in my article. I answered that question already. But for the sake of the challenge, we're going to go with the whiskey. All right. It's starting to grow on me, actually. Like, if you think whiskey sucks, Nathan, I've had other drinks too. I've had so much more stronger drinks. All right. How many of y'all know about absinthe? Good God, that stuff is like 70 or to 80% in the alcohol volume. I've had like a sample of that. It was like a 100 milliliter bottle, and it was like a green apple flavored. And the best way I can describe that taste, it's like if a jelly bean got dropped in rubbing alcohol, but you somehow tasted more of the jelly bean. That's what that absinthe bottle tasted like to me. It was weird. I miss Julio. I don't blame him leaving Atlanta. Well, we over here at Atlanta Falcons Nation, we've already kind of said everything that we wanted to say and pretty much need to say about that topic. I understand the struggle, considering that for the most part he's done okay, but if he really starts having like more like 250 plus yard games, which Ryan Tannehill hasn't really had that happen yet. It's been more so like week 2, and even then that was more of an anomaly so far because Seattle's defense really can't stop anyone now. I'm starting to burp now. That's a danger. I've had some breadsticks, all right, so I kind of prepared a little bit. So in case you're wondering, before you start to drink, make sure that you get some food in your stomach first. All right, that was one of the first things that I was taught before I even started to drink. All right, get some food, get some carbs. All right, get breads, get anything in your system to really absorb the alcohol in your system. So that's my advice to anyone that's curious about drinking that hasn't done it yet, or anyone that's not yet of age. Starting at running back with CMC out, start 2 of 4. Gordon, Zach Moss, Tony Pollard, and Tyson Williams. Okay, well, Gordon. Oh, right before I did that, Randy. All right. This wasn't a question, but I drank anyways because I know what you meant. If I had to start 2 of the at least 4, Zach Moss and the Buffalo Bills are facing Houston. That gives me really good vibes there. And Tony Pollard, Carolina has really shown that they've learned how to stop the run using ways it's been used before. Like Brett Coleman, I don't know if you guys follow him, but I was kind of watching a little bit before the stream because he uploaded like just 15 minutes before it. So I only had so much time to watch it. But one of the things that he described in terms of the Carolina front four, it was really so much the front three because they normally play in the base 3-4, which is 3 defensive linemen, 4 linebackers, and their defensive tackle is kind of tilted, if you've seen that. And what that does is that on the zone run schemes, it forces the defensive tackle to really push the one tackle that he's like kitey corner to, and then have a burst to the zone. And now he's able to quickly push the other lineman, which is most likely the center in this situation. It allows himself to get skinny through the gap and then make the play, or to at least prevent the cutback lane. The fact that I'm describing this right now when I'm buzzed, that's a testament to how much I've had just training myself to not just flip out. All right, Raymond says Saquon Barkley did go with the 20-plus fantasy points, but he's going to face a stout New Orleans run defense, so I put his little keister on the bench and starting Madison, and I also have Elijah Mitchell. Well, I don't really know what Elijah Mitchell is going to do for you now. But Madison's a good start. I suggest try to pick up someone else. So if you can, try to figure out who else is on the waiver wire. Especially now that like the transactions are going to be like immediately processed because we're past it's Wednesday. So it sucks that Raheem Mostert had to go down, so that's why I picked up Elijah Mitchell. Yeah, Jermichael Hasty was also a viable option too, as well as Trey Sermon. Trey Sermon did not have that great of a game. And it really showed. But, I mean, it really is interesting how the 49ers, with Kyle Shanahan, mind you, how heavily they're relying on their running account. That didn't really seem to be the case when he was in Atlanta. Just saying. Goodness gracious, every single time. Radio Walker showed up, says, my Tampa have the Shermanator. Well, I'd say calm down, because sometimes he's proven to be even more drunk than I am right now, and his biggest enemy has been a front door of someone else. Any word on Josh Jacobs? Long Island iced tea. Yeah, he's still out. Yeah, he got injured, and I'm still trying to remember the Raiders running back that they picked up. Okay then. Falcons too inconsistently to easily win anything. Well, they went over my belief, and that was not easy. I know what you're thinking. You're kind of discouraged, but if you would for a moment, check out the Atlanta Falcons Nation website and do me a quick favor and just give my latest article about week 3. Give that a read, and then you'll figure out with your own eyes, because I provide pictures of everything. You'll figure out, hey, was this really a hard win or was this an easier win? I say, like, when you really digest the game and really focus on it instead of just looking at the bare stats, which doesn't give you a whole lot of conclusive evidence to work on, especially going into the next week. I mean, that's available for you. How many points did Daniel Jones have, Jalen Mayfield? Well, that's going to add myself to the whiskey towel. I might need a refill on this thing. Jeez. I just know that it wasn't that great of a number. Someone else started him in fantasy, and I think he said that he lost because of it. So, as far as quarterbacks to pick up, like if you have Daniel Jones and you wanted to get him from the matchup, and you kind of got rid of your QB1 in that situation, and then someone else already picked them up, this is a very specific situation. But if you're in that scenario, Teddy Bridgewater might be available. He's not really being started, and I know that he's up against Baltimore's defense. But think back to like all these opponents that they faced so far. Like Patrick Mahomes was able to do some good things on them. Derek Carr was able to do some good things against them. Jared Goff not so much, but right now I think Teddy Bridgewater is playing safer football, and that's something to be accounted for. I don't think that he's going to have. Ooh, that's a bold statement, but hey, you know what? I'm in this condition. I'm not afraid of what I'm saying right now. I think that Teddy Bridgewater might come out this game against the Ravens with no turnovers. So just so that you don't lose points, there's that. Let's talk about the Braves. Unfortunately, I am not this type of channel, or I am not this type of stream. Coke and whiskey. I am just doing straight up whiskey. I'm doing straight up brandy, and I'm doing straight up Long Island iced tea. I'm not mixing anything. I'm not mixing it with anything. So, yeah, I'm doing that. Falcons are awesome. We win, shock the world this season. Well, according to the rest of the fan base, we can't really even shock ourselves. So, as far as shocking the rest of the world, that's a. I'm sorry, that's a bit of a stretch right now. We can still do it, all right, but we just got to pump the brakes. We're still in the overreaction month. Or some coconut popsicles. Okay, you are just on a commenting streak, my friend. Nothing beats Jack Daniels. I have yet to try them, actually. So, get some good tips from there. I don't even know what that means. I'm living in moonshine country, and I won't touch it. I've had moonshine. And I've had apple pie flavored moonshine. And I've also had like what they call the blue flame one too. I got like a whole jar of that still at my cousin's house, actually. That stuff, like that is a Mike Tyson punch to the back of the throat if you are not familiar with alcohol. Like that is a just take it easy. Take even smaller steps than what I'm doing right now. Give me a thumbs up. Hey, thank you very much. Protein absorbs alcohol. Yes, and that's why I didn't have any protein. It sucks. I want some. I miss Julio too, but not as much as I'll enjoy second round picks in 2022 draft. You know what? That isn't a good point. I mean, think back to our last trade with Mohamed Sanu to the Patriots. We got a free second round pick out of that too, you know. And I trust Terry Fontenot. Sometimes it wasn't sometimes. It was more often than not. Thomas Dimitroff. Oh, excuse me. Thomas Dimitroff would have just absolute home runs of drafts. 2016 was one of them. But then he'll have just terrible draft picks after that. It was more so like kind of like in the middle, like in his early years, more so than anything. Back when we were drafting guys like Pariah Jerry. If you remember him, back when we were drafting Peter Collins in the second round. Whew, man. I can see fresh meat. Goodness gracious, dude, what is going on here? All right, Mr. Trubisky is a good player. I don't know if you wanted to get me to say that or what, but here's one thing I will say, though, especially about the Bears fans. I think they really needed to calm down. And I think that matchup against Cleveland was what the rest of the fan base needed. All right, and I mentioned this before with a couple of other things, too. It's like, I don't like the narrative that, oh, if you just draft a quarterback high, all of your other problems will just magically disappear. It's like, no, like they still needed to fix their play calling system. They still needed to fix their offensive line. They still didn't really have a stout – they sometimes have a stout defense, but it doesn't always show up, though. They have good pieces, but they're not really playing as a cohesive unit right now on the defensive side of the ball for Chicago. And That's what I'm really worried about there, because that's supposed to be your bread and butter. That's supposed to be what keeps your offense in the games. And let's be fair, like Cleveland only scored 26 points. Like that, the bleeding could have been a lot worse. So kudos to them for really trying to keep their offense back in the game, but you can't really continue with this narrative that, oh, hey, if I just draft a quarterback, then everything will be fixed, right? You think Jacksonville's saying that right now? You think New York, the Jets are saying that right now? I'm just saying, like, even Mac Jones has had his own fair share of disappointing games right now. Like, there's a reason why they're 1-2. All right. LeBron's brain says Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Michael Pittman in the flex. Gee, I don't have any help right now in terms of who I last drank, so I'm going to go with the brandy. All right. With Edwards-Helaire, I can trust that Kansas City is going to be up in this game against Philadelphia. And with them playing complementary football, which they were really starting to do against LA, yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is definitely going to get them more touches right now. Michael Pittman, I don't know what's going on with Carson Wentz right now, but he has looked very sluggish out the gate, and I don't really see anyone else talking about that. So I'll be one to mention it. The only person I might trust on Indianapolis' offense right now is just barely Jonathan Taylor. And the reason I say that is because with the 10 rushes that he had, he still averaged like 6 yards a carry. But the problem is that they were down so to the point where they kind of abandoned the run at some point. You know, and if you get in a game where you start to abandon the run, like the Eagles did on Monday night, because goodness gracious, having 3 rushing attempts, that's not good for your offense. That's not good for a young Jalen Hurts. Oh my God, what were you thinking, Nick Sirianni? He's even worse than I am right now. So yeah, I mean, with that in mind, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to get more looks. That offense is going to be ahead. And he's really proven himself to be a strong runner in his own right, too. Ravens are getting their defense back. Piece by piece. Yeah, I will say that. They've looked good on some times, but you also got to remember that you didn't put up that great of a performance offensively either against the Lions. All right? And you can blame Hollywood Brown all you want. But the fact of the matter is, I think that's more of a testament to say that how good the Lions are kind of behaving right now. And I know what you're thinking. It's like, wait a minute. Are you just trying to say that the Lions are actually good? No. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that they're showing their competitive spirit, which is an improvement from the many years prior. So yeah, like they have some fighters, kind of literally sometimes, but they now have a game where I think that's very winnable for them, you know, against Chicago, even though it's at Soldier Field, which I just heard news that they're going to be playing, that they just like bought the rights to play in a new stadium. Can't remember the name of it, but it's not something that Bears fans were proud of either. So Bears fans are really going through it right now. What's wrong with Caleb Huntley? Well, before I answer that, he's still in our practice squad. Last time I checked, I'm sorry. Nothing's really wrong with him. It's just, would you really want to start him right now over the hot streak that is Cordell Patterson? I wouldn't mess that up. All right. Well, to here says Brandon Cooks or Chuba Hubbard. My choice. Neither. I don't like either options. Davis Mills is going to be throwing to Brandon Cooks. All right. And not only are they doing that, but they're also facing Buffalo. Taylor Heineke struggled against Buffalo. What do you think Davis Mills is going to do? Knowing that Brandon Cooks is literally their entire offense right now? That is a recipe for disaster. Just waiting to happen right there. So, yeah, I don't really trust that matchup against them. And then with Chuba Hubbard, here's the thing. I'm not saying that once the Panthers are going to be down in this game against Dallas, then they're just going to completely abandon the run like Philadelphia did. But once they're down, you can expect them to be throwing a lot more passes. Chuba Hubbard could take on that role and try to be more of a receiving threat out the backfield like McCaffrey's been. But I think now would be a good time to start relying on guys like Robbie Anderson, trying to get him back into the groove. You still have Brandon Zilcher that you're trying to implement in your offense. You have, which, by the way, can I just say that I just said 1 week ago, I made a statement, said that I really like saying Sam Darnold to Dan Arnold, and then they traded away Dan Arnold. Can I get a win, man, outside of the Falcons this week? Oh, boy. All right, Head Next says, should I start Marquise Brown or Corey Davis? Once again, neither. Hollywood Brown has not found his hands. All right, I think he left his hands back in Baltimore. And last I checked, Baltimore is playing on the road again. So he might have a two-game stretch where he's going to be missing his hands. And then Corey Davis, well, too bad, dude. He's on the Jets right now. And the Jets can't move the ball to save their life. I don't trust either of those matchups. You probably have a better chance of finding more talent on the waiver wire right now at this point. Nick was worse than Dirk Cutter that night. Yeah. That was just like you just hate to see young quarterbacks be put in that situation where they're just destined to fail. You know? It really hurts. But now that I covered all the questions that I've received so far, let's get back to the actual thing I was going to go on with. Okay. So I've kind of said my piece about the Chiefs and Eagles. Trying to do a mental recap because my mentals is losing. I'm losing my mind so far. In a fun way, though. We got Carolina at Dallas. I've already kind of said that I like my chances with Dallas winning that game. All right, then we have the Giants and the Saints, and I was really hesitant to say anything good about the Saints just because, hey, like, this is where we are. And that I was rooting for, goodness gracious, even my phone is acting all drowsy. All right. Avoid this matchup in fantasy if you can. Avoid the matchup against the Giants and the Saints. All right? I don't really like anyone right now. That includes the Saints offense. That includes the Saints defense. That includes the Giants defense. That includes both kickers. All right? Avoid this game at all costs in fantasy purposes. Raymond says, the strength of my team is wide receiver duo in Jefferson and Adam. Is that Adams or Adam Thielen? They both go against the okay, so it's Adam Thielen. They both go against the Browns this week. So far, it's been the Adam Thielen show, man. Thielen's been stealing all the targets. All right, I have Justin Jefferson on my team, and I was about getting ready to bench him for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So I need to see something. I need to see Justin Jefferson get in the end zone a little bit more consistently. Because, like, they've been using, like, Tyler Conklin to get in the end zone. I'm like, come on, man. I know that you're trying to implement your tight end of your offense because Irv Smith was out for the season. But man, you gotta help us out over here too in the fantasy realms. Just get that fixed, get that straightened up like that. Okay, thank you. So yeah, Giants Saints. I wouldn't watch this game. I wouldn't watch this game, so I'm not going to. All right. I would watch this game with Browns and Vikings. Last time I said that the matchup was going to be really good, it was the Buffalo Bills against Washington, and Buffalo just came out and destroyed Washington's defense. All right. I don't even think they got a sack in that game. Like, that was just insane. Thankfully, I got both of them killers. Justin Jefferson got me 26 points against the Seahawks. Yeah, I was not so lucky. Let's just say that. Well, I mean, if he's going to have to, I mean, if the Vikings offense is really going to have to really prove themselves this time. I wouldn't say, I would take that Seahawks game with a grain of salt right now in terms of their offensive firepower. Because we saw how Cleveland can embarrass a team that isn't prepared. So with this game, if I had to decide about who a winner would be right now, the Vikings have really shown that they can stay in a game against whoever. I wasn't even expecting them to beat Seattle right now. Like, I'm being honest. I was expecting them to stay in the game, but I wasn't expecting them to just outright win. How's it going, Brandon? Yeah, I if you're just tuning in, I'm going through it right now with a bottle of with a glass of Long Island iced tea, with a glass of whiskey, and with a glass of brandy, and I am alternating as I go along with answering all these questions. We are an hour and 17 minutes into it, almost an hour and 18. All right, and I can only be stable so far. Hey man, you're good. You can tune in later. Don't worry. The stream doesn't disappear on YouTube or wherever you're streaming. Oh. Nope. I don't want to be on Hulu. Thank you. All right. I just got rid of my screen. Yeah. It's fun though. All right. All right, I'm proud of you too, because I don't care where you are at in the world right now. It seems to be pretty late. I was going to rush. All right. Going up to the rest of to the last bit of our morning games. We have the Lions and the Bears. All right. And like I said before, I think the Lions can win this game. I just don't know who's going to be responsible for the win. Do I trust TJ Hawkinson, or do I trust Jared Goff in general? My answer is maybe. I think this game, like if the Lions are going to win this game, it's going to be through the ground game. That's my prediction. So if you have DeAndre Swift or Jamal Adams and you really don't have any other strong options to really compare them to, I'd say give them a shot here. I don't know what you're thinking. Well, hey, Chicago has a really stout defensive line. And they're kind of right. Like, Khalil Mack is like the only one that's really been showing up in these games. All right, Lee. Should I trade Jonathan Taylor for Brandon Cooks? I'm in a 10-man PPR league, and I have Kamara, Chubb, D-Hop, and CD. I think I took a sip of the brandy last, so I'm going to go with Long Island iced tea. I wouldn't really go against Jonathan Taylor right now. Like I said, he's like the only person on the Colts offense that I trust. If they just give him more opportunities to run the ball, like he's going to prove himself to be a very successful option for them. There's a reason why everyone drafted him in like the first round. is because like they want to see him get the ball because that's what's going to give him wins. That's what's going to give Carson Wentz comfortability in the offense right now. Because I know that he's worked with Frank Reich before, but you can tell like it's either his knowledge or it's mechanics or his confidence. It really hasn't built up yet, and that's kind of the main catalyst as to why they're 0-3. That and just the straight up toughness of their schedule. They were not given any favors like early on. I still think that they're a good team, but they've just found all the wrong matchups at all the wrong times, and that's what we're seeing right now in the month of September for them. So, yeah, I've already kind of said my piece about Brandon Cooks. He's not a viable option just for the simple fact that Davis Mills is throwing to him, and they're going up against Buffalo. I don't know why we even want to make that trade. Running backs are hard to come by. Wide receivers aren't so much. So if you're really pressing to get a wide receiver here, let's find you a better option. Let's see. Ooh. Browns wide receiver, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Try to see if he's available. He may not be, but at least he'll be easier to trade for. And you wouldn't have to give up a prized possession like Jonathan Taylor right now in order to do so. Because that is not an equal trade. Remember, says, hopefully Cedar, please be more sober than me, gets more than 9.5 points against these Panthers. I got to say, like I said, like the Cowboys, they're really showing themselves to be more of a balanced attack. Like they're trying not to rely on any particular person, but in doing so, they're relying all on Dak Prescott. That's fine for now because they're up against Carolina, who has been like historically stout against the run, but let's pump the brakes on that because they face the Jets, they face the Saints with no coaches, and they face the Texans without their starting quarterback. All right, I don't care how drunk I am. That will never make sense to me. So, yeah, my answer is hopefully as well. Ross says, I hope the Bears can get it figured out on coaching. The only way they figure that out is if they fire the one that they have. That's a stepping stone in the right direction. You can scheme up a good play for your quarterback and no line to stay steady. Yeah, you definitely can. I mean, and you don't even have to be mobile. You still don't have to be mobile in order to be successful. Yeah, and that's one of the things that's what's keeping Matt Ryan relevant in an offense. Is because if you put a good enough head coach and a good enough play caller, he will still be successful. Yeah, I called you out on that. It's fine. You can still be successful with a pocket quarterback. All right, and I'm not even going to call Matt Ryan a pocket quarterback. With all this speed training that we've been seeing in the offseason, he's been getting a lot of looks there in terms of running opportunities. So I've seen. And I know what you think. It's wait a minute. What did you just say? Take this entire stream with a grain of salt, please. All right? I've said this in the past. I'm not a professional. I'm just a person with a lot of research at hand and a lot of time. All right? And I am just passionate and my ability to create something that's worth watching on YouTube. All right? And I just want to be knowledgeable and entertaining for the masses. All right. So, yeah, I think I'm going to hold off. I have Edmonds and Beasley on the bench. I think I'm just freaking out because I'm 1-2. I'm undefeated in one league, but I'm also 1-2 in another. Sometimes it's just a matter of, hey, don't freak out. You're still playing the waiting game. All right. This is still the 3 or 4 weeks period of time where offenses and defenses are still trying to figure each other out. Which is why, when you go up against these other tougher matchups, like these NFC West games, Seahawks at 49ers, Cardinals at Rams, these are going to be some pretty interesting games, especially early on. Oh, man, I think I feel the hiccups coming along. All right. So, yeah, as far as my conclusive thoughts about the Lions and Bears, I'm gonna eke out a Lions victory here. I think they were really, um, for lack of a better term, shafted. I was gonna say I was trying to make a crossbar pun, but I really couldn't get it working in my head. Start three PPR: Gaskin, Pittman, Woods, Waddle, Ayuk. Nope. Mitchell. Nope. Patrick. Tim Patrick? Devontae Smith. Tim Patrick. Gaskin? No. Woods? Maybe. Devontae Smith? Kind of automatically he's the better option here. I'd go Patrick first, because that's the matchup that I'm most confident in. Ayuk, I don't even know what's going on with him. Brett Coleman really needs to explain himself. Waddle, he's fine, but he's up against Indy. He's got Jacoby Brissett throwing to him. He's a close fourth, but I wouldn't consider him the third or even the second best option there at that list. So for me, my thoughts is definitely Tim Patrick. Robert Woods second, just because I'm still confident to know that Matthew Stafford can get the ball around to different people. And I think Robert Woods is finally going to have his week. The fact that Deshaun Jackson got his week before Robert Woods did so far is really irritating me, because I had Cooper Kupp in one league, which is fine, but the league that I'm losing in is when I have Robert Woods. Robert Woods has never failed me in the last couple of years that I've drafted him in fantasy. All right? And I don't want Matthew Stafford to be the blame for that. B-Dub says, thoughts on Josh Gordon. Thoughts on this whiskey. Oh, man. All right. He's no longer the focal point anymore. It sucks that he went to a team like Kansas City, which I felt like they really should have utilized the weapons that they already have. Like, when Mecole Hardman's used right, he's still a good option. When Demarcus Robinson's used right, he's still a good option. It's just one of the weaknesses that Patrick Mahomes still has in his game is that he's still trying to play the hero. He still wants to provide everyone the highlights. And sometimes you just got to calm down in certain situations. You can't be the hero in every single throw. I know that that's what you've been known to do, but that's not sustainable. Like, wild play in the NFL like that is not sustainable. All right? Look at the Wildcat offense in 2008. It was not sustainable. I am sweating, and this long sleeve shirt is not helping, but it's Falcons, so I'm going to rep it anyways. He's not going to be utilized right now. That just wouldn't be fair for him mentally, to just put that much pressure on him to really compete in a game that he really doesn't have to in order for them to win. Like, let's not try to have expectations for him right away. That's all I'll say on that. He might be available in your fantasy leagues, and that's fine, but give him a game. If he proves himself, that's fine. Like, that would be a good time, an appropriate time to really pick him up. But he hasn't really proven himself yet. So I'd avoid him for this week. But in terms of talent-wise, he's still a fantastic player. It's just I mentioned this in a couple weeks ago. Like, he really has a hard time just getting out of his own way. Okay. Another Sunday morning game, or early afternoon for some of y'all, is Texans at Bills. Bills, please. Just get every Bill, all right? I don't care if it's Dawson Knox. I don't care if it's Zach Moss. I don't care if it's Bill Nye the Science Guy. Get every Bill you can find. All right, that's my advice to you. The Texans, they're fine, but they're not that competitive against a juggernaut like this. All right? So get anyone that you can. I am starting Emmanuel Sanders in both of my leagues that I'm in that I can really do anything about my roster. So that's because I love that matchup against the secondary. I think that, especially now that Josh Allen has really found his groove against a tough opponent like Washington, Brian Dable has had this stigma where he's kind of using his passing game as his equal running attack. And you know how the saying goes, if it ain't broke, then don't fix it. And I think that's the mentality that they're having right now in their offense right now. I'm starting to repeat words, and that's a concern. All right. Speaking of a concern, we got the Colts and the Dolphins. This is another game I'd really be hesitant to start anyone in this matchup. I would start the Dolphins defense. That I'd feel comfortable with. That's about it. The reason I say the Dolphins defense is because I am dang near guaranteed a turnover, at least. All right? They've been doing that for the past like 20 games in a row. So that's got to stand for something. And you're up against the turnover-prone Carson Wentz. I'd take that advantage. I'd make him a turnover-prone again. Because both of these teams are really going to fight for a win. And the fact that the Indianapolis Colts could be 0-4. Look, they've had stretches in the past with Frank Reich as the head coach where they went 1-5 and they still made the playoffs. All right, I'm not gonna say that, hey, give up on this team right now because they're trash because they're 0-4. The records don't always show a good summary or a synopsis of the team. All right, I don't know how many times I gotta say that, but some people still don't understand in the world. Just because you see a certain record on a team, that does not equate to how they actually perform. Because you can see like these losses for a team, but you can see steady improvements. And that can make you feel good about a matchup some here and there. Or you can see these wins, like we've seen before against or with Pittsburgh last year. They went 11-0, but you start to see less and less convincing wins there. And then once that first loss came, then all the floodgates went. And yeah, they were flooded in their own sins. Kind of like how I am right now. But I don't have to worry about any floods because my name is Noah. I know a thing or two about arcs. All right. Moving on to the NFC West showdown between the Seahawks and the 49ers and the Cardinals against the Rams. I think I might talk about them both together because they are going to take over Sunday. Both of these matchups. I don't care about each other's record. I don't care about the fact that the Seahawks are 1-2 right now. I just made a mention that don't take a look at these teams and be like, oh, hey, they're 1-2, so they must suck. All right? The Chiefs are still going to make the playoffs, guys. Just because they're 1-2, like they're still going to make the playoffs. So just calm down with the records. Oh boy, I'm gonna have some real like deep meditation on these games. And obviously, I'm not gonna do it in front of y'all because that would just make an even more boring stream. But I would say Seattle wins the 49ers game. And I would say that the Rams barely beat the Cardinals. But like I said before, all four of these teams can easily score 30 points. Easily score 30 points against each other. So knowing that, if you need some people, start looking at these teams. I wouldn't look at any of these defenses, but I don't know, maybe you need a kicker. So hey, get yourself like Matt Gay, like the Rams kicker. I don't know. I got him because he was available. Yeah. I think that in a tough matchup, I think Seattle wins, and I think in a close matchup, LA finds a way to sneak out and win against Arizona. Arizona is still kind of struggling against the run game. Like if you watch that Jacksonville game, which I salute you because I didn't I didn't really pay close attention to that game. I just let's be honest, some of these games I didn't really need to do a whole lot of research. Um, but I can tell you one thing: that James Robinson was having his way against the Arizona defense, and not to say that the Rams can really exploit the running attack because they're still trying to figure out what to do with Darrell Henderson and Sony Michel. But that's also to say that they might need to focus on. They might need to start focusing on the passing attack if you're Arizona, and then force the Rams to start running the ball. Which, if you do either or, that's kind of dangerous. But I also trust the firepower that the Cardinals have in order to keep up in the game. Like both of these games, it's just a matter of whoever's going to have the ball last. All right, and I kind of trust that the Rams are going to have the ball last, and I kind of trust that the Seahawks are going to have the ball last. So, in those prospective matchups, that's how I kind of see them going down. All right, then we're going into the later afternoon games. We have the first matchup against the Pittsburgh Steelers at the Green Bay Packers. I don't know what the heck is going on with the Steelers right now. I mentioned this last week. Like they are way too reliant on Najee Harris right now. 19 targets in the passing attack, 14 catches. He got 100 yards. But let's talk about the run game. All right, because when he was actually given the rock as a runner, he got 40 yards against the Bengals. That is concerning. And when you're a Packers defense that knows exactly how to exploit just a running attack like that, or a lack of one, yeah, give me Green Bay, and it's not going to look pretty if you're a Steelers fan. Like the Steelers, they're not really prepared to play from behind, and they're not really prepared to play with a lead. They can't run the ball to close out a game, and they really can't throw themselves back into a win. So I don't really know what the strategy is here. Like I don't really want to blame this entire game on like Big Ben's shoulders, because something's got to give about the play call in there. It has not looked all that attractive. So whatever you got going on there in Pittsburgh, that needs to be figured out. Like y'all really need to take care of your problems over there, because Green Bay is gonna have their way with you. It ain't gonna look pretty. All right, speaking of not looking pretty kind of game, you have the Baltimore Ravens at the Denver Broncos. And I say this is not going to look pretty just for the simple fact that the Ravens didn't look all that good against Detroit. And the Broncos, they're 3-0, but let's be honest, are they really? This is their first test. And it's really going to help them that they have a home field advantage. But if Justin Tucker can kick a 66-yard game-winner field goal in Detroit, Mile High is a bigger, like it's got a better advantage if you're a kicker, just in terms of the altitude. Like that's why Matt Prater was able to kick like a 64-yarder, and then he was able to do the same thing when he was on the Lions too. So, like they can really just sit back and get like 20 yards and then really kick themselves back into a game. Like they don't really need to worry about punting anymore if they're going up against Denver at Denver. And the problem is they might really need to do that because Outside of Mark Andrews, I don't really know who Lamar Jackson is really trusting right now in the passing attack. It's really just been him on the ground game, and it's really showing because he's like the fourth leading rusher in the NFL. I see all these like posts on social media. It's like, hey guys, like Lamar Jackson, he's still a legitimate passer. I'm like, really? Where? I know that there's a lot of people that are really harping on Matt Ryan for, oh, he only just had that one good season in 2016, which we all know as Falcons fans isn't even true in the slightest. Are we eventually going to say the same thing about Lamar Jackson 2019 season? I don't, because like I said, I want to see good players be good, but he's not really getting any help. I'm not going to really blame him for having to rely on his legs for this game matchup. But on the other hand, can the Broncos really win this game? I know they know how to not lose a game, but uh, I I was kind of swaying Baltimore for a minute, but now I'm thinking a little bit closer. The defense on Denver, that I can say for certain is no joke. So when you are having to face a defense, when you know for certain that you're one-dimensional going into this game, and you're on the road, I don't mean to call another upset against Baltimore, but I need to be convinced that the Denver Broncos can't lose this game either. I know the running offense hasn't really been up to par so far in terms of like their yards per attempt, but that's not really going to stop me here. Like I said, I think Teddy Bridgewater gets away with this game still without a turnover. And finally, we're on our last two games, and boy, oh boy, are they interesting. But let's start off with the Sunday night matchup against the Buccaneers and the New England Patriots. Okay, since everyone in the chat has gone limp, yeah, that's right. I'm calling you all out. I don't care what I'm saying right now. I want to get some feelers as to what y'all think about this matchup. All right, I know it's going to be easy to say, like, hey, like I'm a Falcons fan, so of course I'm going to root for Tampa Bay's downfall. But I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep for the rest of this week either way if one team wins or one team loses. Or, like, can you imagine they both tie? All of our questions about both Brady and Belichick would still be unanswered. Now that I think about it, I would love it so much if this game ended in a tie. Maybe this is just drunk me that's saying this, but I don't really want to see either team win here. All right, I'm still salty about New England, and I don't care that the main reason that I'm not even going to talk about that. All right, it's just that the mind games that's going to be at play here. There we go. Thank you, Jack. Thank you. Whew. This chat was feeling so limp. I was starting to like chuck it at the wall and see if it would fall. All right. You know what? Just for you, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna have all three of them. Ooh, I'm actually kind of glad I ended up with the brandy. All right, Woods, Sutton, Darrell Henderson, or Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown, I heard, was not even playing this game. So if I had to pick one, give me Cortland Sutton. Because the way I see it with Denver's offense, like I was just kind of talking about, it's first going to be at the hands of, well, it kind of comes and goes. KJ Hamler's out for the rest of the season, by the way. So that limits the targets that Teddy Bridgewater can throw to. So now that kind of leaves Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton as the two main targets right now. So knowing that, I do feel good about Sutton a little bit more than Woods, because Woods can have himself a breakout game. It's just a matter of a win. Do I trust week 4 Robert Woods? Not really. He could still have a good game. So in terms of a floor, I would like Woods, but I do think that Cortland Sutton has a much higher ceiling too. Also, start 2 between Zeke, Najee Harris, which I've already kind of flamed, and Chris Carson, which I've already kind of mentioned. It's like I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of targets or touches. Zeke, he is having a committee right now with Tony Pollard in the backfield, and they're up against a Panthers defense that really knows what to do in terms of like lining up their defensive linemen for stopping the run. Yeah, I would still kind of go with Chris Carson here. I would trust Seattle's offense to be a little bit more balanced, especially when they have to go up against San Francisco in order to really stay competitive in that game. Najee, I'm really kind of thinking about first, like, okay, like who wins and who's the reason as to why. And if I don't trust the team to win, can they at least give me some good stats to really use late in the game? I don't even know if Najee Harris can do that right now, because for what it's worth, he can get you the catches, but I don't really expect that offense that they were utilizing against Cincinnati to be sustainable there. You know, because they couldn't stop throwing to Najee Harris to the point where even Big Ben was falling over after he was making these simple throws. I mean, I don't even know what to say about that. So, yeah, Chris Carson first. Then maybe Najee just for the garbage time stats. So, I've already drank 3 times to your question in the first one. I wasn't expecting you to have a follow-up. All right, so I'm going to leave it at that. And you had another one. All right, so Rodgers versus Steelers or Brady versus Pats, LOL on 2 leagues. All right, so, yeah, I already kind of said Rodgers. I trust that matchup first because it's not going to be as mentally tasking as Brady against the Pats. That is going to be a boss battle for the ages. All right. And yeah, I would shy away from it if I could, because I don't really know what to expect in this game. I would love it if they tied. I really would. But if I can't get that to work in my favor, then I would go with the easier opportunity there and say, give me Rodgers against the Steelers. Because if Joe Burrow can look good against the Steelers, come on. What do you think Rodgers is going to do now that he's got his groove? All right. I know I didn't really give a full answer about the Bucs and Patriots game. I'm just going to move on. Please let me just end this night in peace. Oh my gosh, I'm starting to move my legs and they are numb. I think I fell asleep. Yeah, you're welcome. Just remember, I am drunk. So stick with my logic at your own peril, please. Listener discretion is advised. All right, Monday night matchup, Raiders at Chargers. I'm in California. I can't stop hearing about this game. And the Raiders, they know how to close. The Raiders, they know how to close out games finally. The Chargers know how to close out games finally against stronger opponents too. So you can really expect this game to go into overtime. And at that point, whose kicker do I trust? I'm going to go with the proven one. I'm going to give me Daniel Carlson. Because the Raiders, they've already shown that they can stop an opponent during overtime. Because I don't think in either matchup that they had the ball first. I could be wrong on that, right? I am dealing with a lot right now mentally, and I'm still trying to keep my composure 2 hours into a stream, all right? I am doing great. Even if no one else is going to say so. All right. Yeah, this game is going to come down to the wire as well. I can expect both teams to go over 30 points. Mike Williams has done wonders for me. So if you're going to trade for any wide receiver, I would say trade him. Because if you don't have him and you kind of think that the person that has him right now doesn't know what to do with him, I'd say snag him. I don't know who to trade for or like who to trade away, because that's going to be a case-by-case basis. But in terms of like a target that I want to get for a trade, give me Mike Williams. And then if you have like this whole conversation with them about like, okay, like how often do you pay attention to the Chargers games? And if they're saying not that often, because who the heck is a fan of them anymore? And yeah, I am fully aware, knowing that I'm saying this when I have like one of my good friends is a Chargers fan. So I know that two exist in the world. Even if they're not showing up to the games, I know that there's two that exist in the world that are showing up at least in their own living rooms and having fun watching them from afar. But I'm sorry. I think that the Raiders are so hot in terms of their momentum that now the Chargers defense is no slouch either. Like the way that they're able to play their cover two against Patrick Mahomes and made it look really well. Like their corner that they put up against Tyreek Hill, what was his name? It was like this undrafted rookie, all right? It was like Trayvon Campbell or something. Trayvon something. My mind is drawing all sorts of blanks. But yeah, Derek Carr knows how to keep himself into a game. Justin Herbert also knows how to keep himself into a game. All I know is that I am starting at least one Raiders wide receiver right now, and I don't even care who, because all of them are going to feast. You know, if it's early on in the season, hey, I'd start Henry Ruggs in like the first quarter. I'd start Hunter Renfrow in the second quarter. I would start, Zay Jones in the third quarter. I would start Darren Wall in the fourth quarter, and I would definitely start Bryan Edwards in the overtime. That's just how it goes right now. Okay. And yeah, that pretty much covers it. As far as what to do for the rest of these drinks, y'all have any more questions? I know I got some people that are still lingering in there in the chat. I got some drink left that I need to finish out, and I want to do it with a purpose. I'm going to go out on a high note. I might end this in about 5 minutes. So if I don't get some answers, or if I don't get some questions, rather, then Might have to say goodnight to y'all a little bit earlier than I did last week. Guys, I've already kind of stated my piece about every single game in terms of a fantasy perspective and also a realistic perspective. Okay. Oh, here's something I can do in order to pass the time. I mentioned a story from last week. So yesterday, I'm just gonna tell a story. I'm gonna wait until we get to the 2 hour mark. All right. That way it looks even. So yesterday, I had a half day at work. I was supposed to be pushed off to Monday, but I took Tuesday off because one of our coworkers went to the 49ers game, and she wasn't going to be there. So I know that because of how our work has been understaffed recently, I decided to take one for the team, join in a little bit earlier than I needed to, and then I compensated with my vacation time, took it for yesterday, finished my article. By the way, please check out my article. That's the only thing I care about other than this stream in terms of my publicity. I don't really care that my face is shown right now. You know, I'm just doing this for the entertainment value, and that's so that you're not having to look at a blank slate for 2 hours. All right, so there's that. I don't know if you heard that, but that was my elbow popping. I'm kind of doing all this voluntary with really no one else to bounce off of for 2 hours, and I'm doing this not sober anymore. Like, I'm not one to beg for donations. Please. But yeah, so what happened yesterday for me was I had a super stressful day, and I wanted to compensate. So I went over to get some pizza. I ordered it online, and I was like, yeah, I can just pick it up. It's about like a 20-minute wait time, so it takes me about 20 minutes in order to get over there. And then like right across the street is where I got these other wonderful beverages that I tried out tonight. So I went over there, picked up my pizza, went across the street, picked up some drinks, came back home, felt in my pocket for my house keys, and I didn't feel them. I was locked out of my own house for about 2 hours after I just got pizza and drinks. I was so frustrated, y'all. Y'all would not believe how angry I was. I was like, I just had a stressful day at work, and I wanted to really like lighten the mood for the rest of the day. I didn't show up in yesterday's stream. I was gonna try my absolute hardest in order to be a part of the heavy hitter stream yesterday, but I couldn't even do that right because I locked myself out of the house. At least the Falcons won. Oh boy. So what I ended up decided to do, I just went to my cousin's place. He wasn't expecting me. Who the heck would? Just decided to have pizza in front of him, which he was in the middle of his workout, or he just finished it rather. So he wasn't going to be in the mood to enjoy his pizza. So I'm like, all right, thank you. I no longer feel self-conscious about eating in front of him. And I was like, hey, you know what? Let's just throw something on. I'm just going to watch some TV, just lighten the mood a little bit, just wait until at least someone else gets back from my family. And I'm like, okay, well, it's been a while since I've paid attention to the Marvel What If series on Disney Plus. I get about 3 episodes into it. I haven't gotten to the 4th episode yet, so that was the one I decided to watch. And if you're caught up to that, then you know what kind of episode that I ate in front of. So yeah, that wasn't fun. And by the time that I had panicked and then went over to my cousin's house after I just finished picking up my pizza and went to the store, drove back home, my pizza was dry. It was stale. I may as well have just never left it. I may as well have just never lifted it up from the box. All right, that's how bad the crust was at the bottom. All right, let me tell you, I just had a piece of cardboard with a little bit of pizza in between. That's all that pizza became at the end of the day. I just sat there, just feeling so angry that I couldn't join the stream because I didn't have these headphones in, and that I wouldn't have my ability to really tune in without having my charger, because I need my charger in order to keep my phone alive. during the streams, especially for this long a time. And yeah, I couldn't even enjoy that. I missed out on the stream yesterday. I wasn't even in the chat. I was just so frustrated. My goodness. So I spent a whole nother day just looming over like what bottle I was going to open. Turns out I was so eager to just forget about yesterday that I just ended up opening all of them. And you know what? Just to finish it off, because we just hit the 2-hour mark. Ooh, there goes the Long Island iced tea. There goes the whiskey. Whew. I am doing something very dangerous. And there goes the brandy. If I'm alive by Friday, I'm gonna try to hop onto that Friday Night Madness stream. If you don't see me, Mike and Maggie, they have my emergency contacts. All right. Well, that's about it for me, guys. I really don't know. I don't really have an outro, so I can't think of one. All right, just let me just sleep in peace. I got work tomorrow morning, and I am not about to miss it out because, oh boy. Appreciate y'all tuning in, and if you watch this at a later time, oh my goodness. All right, have a good one, guys. I am out of it, man. I really am. Oh boy. Hopefully I made sense though. Hey, 2 hours into being no longer sober, and I'm still smarter than half of ESPN. Boom. There, I said it. Good day, sir.